The member for Whitlam visited my electorate last week, came to Wagga Wagga and conducted an anti-scams forum with me. Upon my invitation, and I want to publicly acknowledge and thank him for the work that he is doing in this important public policy area, building on what we did as a coalition government. But I also now want to take him up on the fact that when he said they inherited a diabolical mess. Well, what they did inherit was a nation which was rated, judged by the Johns Hopkins Institute, no less, as being the second best nation in the world for its COVID-19 response. And what we did by spending money, yes, a lot of it, was what we kept tens of thousands of Australians alive. We kept tens of thousands of Australians in jobs. We kept tens of thousands of businesses with their doors open. And we did that despite the backdrop of those opposite being very negative about lots of the policies that we put forward, and about their state Labor premiers also often being obstinate when we were trying to bring forward good policies in what was a terrible time, a time of a global pandemic. Now, on budget night this year, the respected economist Chris Richardson had this to say. "My big ask of the budget was that it didn't poke the inflationary bear. I don't think it passed that test. The government said it would be careful not to front-load its new costs, but that's exactly what it did. And its new dollars are both big and fast. In the coming year, they're 8 times the size of what they are by 2027-28, so this budget narrows the Reserve Bank's already narrow path." Now, inflation is high, and it is too high, and it's going up and up and up under Labor. Today, Mr Richardson in The Australian is critical of the decisions by federal and state governments, and every mainland state in Australia is under the steed of a Labor government. He talked about in recent budgets to pour billions of additional dollars into the economy under the guise of cost-of-living relief that could ultimately make life harder for struggling households by keeping inflation higher for longer. And this is what he said, Deputy Speaker. "Governments are throwing a lot of money at the symptoms of the cost-of-living crisis, but that worsens the cause of it. And the cause is too many dollars chasing too little stuff. Governments have abandoned the field in the inflation fight. We are fighting the inflation fight one-handed." And when we talk about one-handed, we've got a lot of families, a lot of small business owners with their hand very much behind their back because they are struggling. And it is tough out there. And I know the member for Whitlam acknowledged that, and so did the Shadow Treasurer in their contributions to this matter of public importance discussion. It is so tough for people out there. And I ask this question of people who might be listening to this broadcast. Are you better off now, or were you better off prior to May 2022? And the people are much the poorer now. They are much the poorer now. And in fact, most households are paying $1,000 more on their power bills than what they were when the coalition was in government. And that is a shame. That is a shame, member for Moncrieff. And indeed, they are paying more for rent. That's if you can find affordable housing. And those people who have mortgage rates are doing it so very tough at the moment, so very tough. It is so difficult to get into a house, to get into the market, and Labor are making it just more difficult by their policies, by what they do every day. And of course then we've got those people trying to make ends meet when they go to the grocery store. They are getting less groceries and they are paying more for it. They are paying more for petrol every time they go to the petrol bowser. And we just see no end in sight to this mess. We need to get Australia back on track. Now, as the Leader of the Opposition has said repeatedly, what we will do when next in government is rein in inflationary spending to take the pressure off inflation. The member for Rankin doesn't get that. He is the Treasurer. He ought to get it. Will not be spending $13.7 billion on corporate welfare for green hydrogen and critical minerals. I mean, some of the policies in the energy space and some of what Labor is doing in the space of paying $107 million to Western Australian sheep farmers to stop farming is just a nonsense, and it's causing inflationary pressures. It is making things more difficult. We'll wind back Labor's intervention and remove regulatory roadblocks which are suffocating the economy and stopping businesses from getting ahead. And that's what we should be doing. We should be helping our businesses, supporting the economy and making sure that we address cost of living pressures.